Hello, and welcome to Why Wasn't It Better? I'm your host, Patrick Darms.
And I'm your co-host, Anton Paras.
Cold, isolated, paranoid, and crawling with something not of this earth. Today we are diving into John Carpenter's The Thing, a film that bombed upon its release only to become one of the most revered sci-fi horror films of all time. Released in 1982, the same summer as E.T. the Extraterrestrial, The Thing asks a very different question. What if the alien didn't want to be our friend? And here, to somewhat answer that question with us, is a return guest, Sean O'Connor. Welcome back to the podcast.
Sean, welcome back.
Hello, gentlemen. It's been too long.
It
Always love being
has.
here.
What's more scary, something like this or a Steven Seagal film?
I think there's no argument. It's obviously a Steven Seagal film.
Yeah, that's a different level of trauma.
Yeah.
Once you go through that.
That's something you can't forget for the rest of your life. And
He could have been in this film, right? He could have been one of
He could have been the
crew
Thing.
members.
Wasn't he? Is he the dog thing?
The Thing just morphs into different Steven Seagal characters.
Zabba. It's like, he's not talking like a human. Shoot him.
Imagine like the head thing, but it's just Steven Seagal's head.
Doing different karate moves.
That's the real practical effect. Well, I remember on the both Seagal films that we've covered, Anton, I compared him to an animatronic.
Yeah, and perhaps maybe he would have fit in very well with the practical effects of this film.
I think so. He
Yeah.
exists in the uncanny valley because of his acting talents. But enough about Steven Seagal. We're here to talk about something much, much better. This is a rarity for the podcast for my co-host Anton and the guest Sean. This is going to be the rare love fest.
Yep.
I'm about it.
Those are always fun episodes.
There's not much to criticize about this one, but we're going to get into it. Actually, before we do that, Sean, anything you want to get off your chest, discuss before we really intro this movie?
Yes,
Well,
please.
What's been going on?
You know what? I don't know if we're going to cover it specifically on this podcast, but physical media, man. I'm a big physical media guy. I've been buying up 4K discs.
Respect,
Doing
brother. Respect.
A lot of research on Reddit and online communities. And I have to say, for anybody that is a fan of physical media, this movie, The Thing, on 4K, is one of the best discs that you can possibly own. It looks like the movie was made yesterday. So I have to give a shout out to the people involved in that 4K transfer. Man, it is good. So I don't think we'll talk about it on the pod, but I have to call it out so I don't forget.
You can bring it up periodically. I mean, because I am going to be mentioning Dean Cundy's name several times during this recording. If you remember, Sean, we talked about him on Halloween 2 and Halloween 3 when we covered those. He shot both of those films. He shot this. One of the all-time great cinematographers. Anton, this is some of his best work.
Oh, I mean, honestly, up and down, this is just take one of your terms from previous episodes, a murderer's row of incredible talent.
It is. So, without further ado, with groundbreaking practical effects, a haunting score by Ennio Morricone, and one of Kurt Russell's most iconic performances, The Thing has earned its place as a genre-defining classic. It wasn't always seen that way. Why did critics and audiences reject it in 82? What makes it so enduring today? And most importantly, why wasn't it better received when it first hit theaters? I'm not even going to bother introing the plot because I feel like this movie's just so famous. Everybody knows it. The Thing was released on June 25th, 1982 by Universal Pictures. It was directed by John Carpenter. The screenplay was written by Bill Lancaster, based on the novella Who Goes There by John W. Campbell, starring Kurt Russell, Keith David, Wilford Diabetes Brimley, T.K. Carter, David Clennon, Richard Dysart, Charles Hallahan, Peter Maloney, Richard Masser, Donald Moffat, Joel Polis, and Thomas G. Waits, with a budget of $15 million. That is $49 million adjusted for inflation. And the box office, only $19.9 million. That is $65 million adjusted for inflation. This has an 84% Rotten Tomatoes score. Currently, I'd be curious to know what that score would have been on 1982. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a great way to look that up.
No,
Anton, this was your pick, though.
Ooh, and
Why?
I gotta just say, like, I don't want to bury the lead. This is in my Mount Rushmore of favorite films of all time. I think I always hesitate to say if something's my favorite just because I really don't want to knock something else off. But this is one of those films where more often than not, like, you could argue this is one of my favorite films of all time, or sometimes it's the favorite. It is just so good. I'm really excited to talk about this one today. Not much more I want to say other than that than to dig in, but I'm really excited to talk about this film today.
How many times would you say you've seen it?
Over 100 times, like no exaggeration.
Wow.
I started seeing
100
this film.
times. Wow.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
because I started watching this one back in high school, and I was completely fascinated. This film really got me into horror, but at the same time, different facets of it. I started getting into survival horror video games because of this movie. I started to look at other films from around the same time period because of this movie. So I'd say a lot of my love around the genre, or even just like appreciation for film, I could really point to this film too. So it's a pretty important film for me.
Completely understandable that you speak so highly of it. It is just fascinating to think it wasn't always thought of that way. Like a lot of Carpenter's works, The Thing was dismissed as like a cheesy B movie upon its release. Did either of you read some of the reviews that were written about it at the time? It's really funny.
You know what? Look, Pat, people were weak in 1982. That's all we can take.
This just shows that boomers just weren't that smart. You know what I mean? I mean, if they don't like a movie like this is objectively a great movie. You know, I mean, how could you not support this?
Yeah, we'll talk about it more, but I think it's one of those things where if you aren't ready for it, it really does shock you. And maybe this was a lot for people in 1982. I mean, clearly it was.
Clearly it was. And, you know, it's interesting because we're going to talk about the turnaround in reputation that this film has experienced. It's tremendous. I've never heard anyone say they disliked this film. This is even liked by a lot of people that I know who aren't horror fans, that says a lot about it. Because this is about as pure a horror movie as it gets. This isn't like some fringe sort. It has some scares in it. Like it's, you know what I mean? This is a real horror movie in a lot of different ways. I saw this as a kid, and when I saw it some point in the late 90s, I would have been about 10 years old. I have a very distinct memory of seeing this at a sleepover, and we asked my friend's dad, do you have a scary movie we can watch? He had this on VHS. He put it on, and already at that point, the film had been out, I think, probably about 15 years at that point. It was already being presented to me as this is a great movie. So even by that point, its reputation had already changed, which is so interesting. Our dedicated listeners may be wondering why we're covering this, but of course, it's perfect for Why Wasn't Better, because this was a complete failure when it was released.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, what's your history with this movie?
So growing up, my dad and he got me into I think I probably mentioned it in one of the other episodes, but he got me into all the horror movies. So we started with, Abbott and Costello versus Frankenstein versus The Mummy, and then worked our way up to different movies. After I was, proving that I could actually not get nightmares after watching some horror movies, we started getting into John Carpenter. So we watched The Fog, Halloween, and The Thing was right there. So I watched this at a really young age. I'm probably calling my dad out now, probably like 8 years old, 7 years old, watching The Thing and Halloween. Maybe a little bit too young for that, but man, this to me is like a complete movie. It's perfect, and it's definitely a horror movie. But I also think why a lot of people like it is, in a lot of ways, it is kind of genre bending, of like a whodunit, mind bender, right? It's not just straight up blood and gore or a slasher. It keeps you guessing and makes you think a little bit, and you never really feel safe the entire movie. So you bring out different emotions than just your traditional horror movie, like a Michael Myers, like a Halloween, right, or a Friday the 13th. It's a little bit different in that regard, but yeah, it goes all the way back to a very young age. So definitely have some history there.
Nothing but love here. We're going to be all giving this very high scores. Just no sense in disguising
no spoilers, man. I might come in tough tonight. I had a rough day.
I mean, it is funny. I was just watching this the other night. I'm like, wow, what would improve this movie? I don't really know, but I've got some ideas that we'll talk about later.
Okay.
Anton's like, what the hell? Don't do this to me, Pat.
No, it's good. I mean, if we didn't have the conversation, then who would?
It's true. But by the way, really quick, Anton, before I get into the production history, this is technically the first John Carpenter film that we're covering that he directed.
I mean, we did talk about Halloween too.
Right, which he officially didn't direct. It's kind of, I get like Spielberg with Poltergeist vibes on that.
Yeah.
His fingerprints are all over that movie. But technically, this is our first official Carpenter film. It's a pretty good one to start with.
Yeah.
And I got to say, we're going to be covering a bunch of Carpenter's films on this podcast because he was on fire at this point in his career. Gets a little rough in the 90s.
Yeah. It's hard to stay on top. Very small percentage of directors, actors stay on top.
True.
But these highs, soaring.
They are indeed.
Did he direct Vampires Los Muertos or just Vampires? Because there were two of them.
I think just vampires.
Yes.
Vampires
as far as I know,
was with
just
James
Vampires.
Wood, and then Vampires Los Muertos was with John Bon Jovi. I think that was
Yeah.
it's a right sequel.
If people weren't sure, yes, he did direct Escape from LA.
He did do Escape from LA. Okay, that one was not good.
Oh, you better believe we're covering that.
Oh,
Yeah, that was a part of that era that Pat was alluding to.
Yeah. It's not great, but I find it oddly endearing.
Yeah, but
it's watchable.
I still watch the basketball scene all the time.
Yeah, make no mistake, it is not a good movie. but I kind of enjoy it. So, production history for The Thing. We mentioned it is based on Who Goes There, a novella that was originally published in 1938. Have either of you read it?
Yes, I have.
I have as well. Worth a read, Sean, because this film is pretty faithful to it. It was loosely, famously adapted into a film in 1951 called The Thing from Another World, which is also worth seeing, in my opinion. It's pretty good. Different than this, and obviously it's the 50s, so they couldn't do a lot of things that Carpenter did here. Producers David Foster and Lawrence Terman originally wanted to revisit the original novella with a more faithful adaptation. This was in the 1970s. They went to Universal. Screenwriters Hal Barwood and Matthew Robbins held the rights, but they passed on the opportunity to adapt it, so Universal purchased the rights from them. John Carpenter had been linked to the project as far back as 1976 when he was still mainly an indie filmmaker. So Universal, they wanted to go with Tobe Hooper. We were just talking about him last week, Anton, when we covered Poltergeist. Hooper was fresh off the success of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After hearing Toby's vision for the film, Universal decided to look elsewhere. And if you read into this a bit, and they cover it on, I think, the Blu-ray 4K documentary, he wanted to make it into some kind of a comedy. I have no idea how that would have worked. Kind of understandable why they weren't interested. After several more failed pitches by different writers and attempts to bring on other directors, such as John Landis, of all people, the project was put on hold. The success of Ridley Scott's Alien in 1979 convinced Universal to revisit the project, and this is at the point that John Carpenter re-entered the picture, as his film Halloween had just been released the previous year to unprecedented success. Carpenter was initially hesitant to get involved in this, as he thought it would be impossible to outdo the 1951 film. He was advised to read the original novella, which he did, and he became interested, comparing it to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. At one point during pre-production, Carpenter nearly quit when he believed he could get a passion project called El Diablo made. The producers discussed various replacements, including Walter Hill, Sam Peckinpah, and Michael Ritchie, but the development of El Diablo fell through and Carpenter remained with The Thing.
So Universal greenlit a budget of $10 million with $200,000 for, quote, creature effects, which at the time was more than the studio had ever allocated to a monster film. As storyboarding and designs were finalized, the crew estimated they would need at least $750,000 for creature effects, a figure Universal executives agreed to after seeing the number of workers employed under Rob Bottin, the special makeup effects designer. All the creature effects were designed and supervised by Rob Bottin, except for the dog thing, which was overseen by Stan Winston. Carpenter was asked to work on the screenplay, but did not want to, as he just completed Escape from New York. The screenplay was eventually written by Bill Lancaster. Lancaster conceived several key scenes in the film, including the Norris thing biting Dr. Copper, and the use of the blood test to identify the thing, which Carpenter cited as the reason he wanted to work on the film. He made some significant changes to the story, such as reducing the number of characters from 37 to 12. Kurt Russell had worked with Carpenter twice before and was involved in the production before being cast. helping Carpenter develop his ideas, although he was technically the last actor to be officially cast. At various points, the producers also met with Brian Dennehy, Chris Christopherson, John Hurd, Ed Harris, Tom Berenger, Jack Thompson, Scott Glenn, Fred Ward, Peter Coyote, Tom Atkins, and Tim McIntyre. Jeffrey Holder, Carl Weathers, and Bernie Casey were considered for the role of Mechanic Childs, and Carpenter also looked at Isaac Hayes, having worked with him on Escape from New York. Ernie Hudson was the frontrunner and was almost cast until they met with Keith David. The film would be his first major role.
Sidebar really quick. Jeffrey Holder in this movie, Anton.
Yeah.
Sean, if you know who Baron Samedi is,
It would be
the James Bond series, that's Jeffrey Holder.
Scene eating.
He would have been incredible in this film.
Yeah.
Well, to take nothing away from Keith David, who's great here.
Yeah, Keith David brought a grounded realism that honestly the whole cast brought. Jeffrey Holder, though, pretty incredible. That would have been
If I
fun.
don't remember to say this later, I'll say it now. One of the reasons the cast is so great is they all look and feel like guys who would be working at an Antarctic research station.
Yeah.
No one feels out of place. Looks out of place, I should say.
No.
They all look as annoyed by the day-to-day that I think you typically would expect someone to be working on an Antarctic base.
Yeah, none of them felt too Hollywood or too pretty. You know what I mean?
No.
Like they were just salt of the earth guys there for research.
So principal photography began in August 1981 near Juneau, Alaska, lasting about 12 weeks. Outside, the temperature was so low that the camera lenses would freeze and break. Filming then moved to the Universal Studio lot. Carpenter filmed the Norwegian camp scenes after the end scenes, using the damaged American base as a stand-in for the charred Norwegian camp to save money. The effects budget ran over, eventually totaling $1.5 million, forcing the elimination of some scenes, including Null's confrontation of a creature dubbed the Box Thing. This is why Null's completely disappears from the film during the climax.
By the way, I think at the time that was the highest creature effects budget ever given to any film.
Yeah, you see every single dollar on the screen, that's for sure.
You can, no surprise.
I wonder if there's a deleted scene for that. Null's
The box thing, I don't think they filmed it. I think
They
it was just
never
cut
actually-
for budget.
okay. They never
No, I
actually
think it was
filmed
just
it?
cut for budget reasons. Because we'll talk about him just disappearing from the film.
Yeah.
It works, but I have thoughts.
And that is it for our production history. And that brings us into our next segment of the podcast, of course, Why Wasn't It Better? Pat, how do we kick this off?
Well, I have nothing to criticize about this film whatsoever. So that's it for this week's edition of Why Wasn't It Better? We'll see you next week.
It almost feels wrong. You know what I mean? It really does feel wrong saying why wasn't it close to a perfect movie.
But it failed. It's just baffling.
That's why I love speculating why it didn't do well. And I would love to hear your theories.
I don't think this is so much as a theory, at least this first part. I mean, we can at least explain why it didn't do well at the box office. The timing on this was horrible. Another Universal film was released 2 weeks before this called E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Okay.
I think it's very clear which film the studio was heavily pushing. I can understand that. Nothing against E.T. I love that movie. And this is a completely different movie. They shouldn't be compared. That was Universal's cash cow. This was a more expensive film for them to make, you know, given the location shooting and the creature effects. This just got annihilated at the box office. And I get it, right? If you're going to the theaters in June of 82, unless you're into like an R-rated horror film, like I get why everybody went to see it. I get it.
Yeah, it's a really stacked month. I think one that comes to mind just because I saw someone cover it recently on a different show. December 2001 has one of the greatest all-time release lineups for films that I feel like very equally. Like, look, you have to choose between Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, Ocean's 11, Vanilla Sky, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Black Hawk Down, and A Beautiful Mind.
Ooh.
So if
they all made money.
But some of them ate more than others.
Ooh, that's a crazy lineup. I didn't realize they all came out the same month.
Harry Potter was November.
Okay.
But
it was in theaters.
Season.
Though.
Holiday
season. But you're right, Anton. I mean, we needed that after 9/11 too. I saw I didn't see Vanilla Sky in the theater, but I think I saw all the other ones you mentioned.
I still have never seen Vanilla Sky. And it's funny, it keeps popping up on social media. They keep talking about the Times Square scene. I guess it was like one of the most expensive scenes of all time because they had to shut down Times Square.
It is a trip.
Is it good? Is it worth the watch?
I don't really like it, but I would say it's probably worth checking out. It's an interesting movie. It's not my cup of tea.
Okay. I think if you're a fan of Tom Cruise, it's probably one of his more interesting roles.
It is.
So I'd say check it out. It's not what you typically expect from Tom Cruise.
Is it better or worse than Tropic Thunder, Tom Cruise?
Oh, that's really
worse.
That's really hard. Yeah, actually, I'll go with that worse.
Yeah. Less entertaining. That's for sure.
But I mean, just to kind of go back to this film, when you're going up against such big films, I guess the difference between all of those films is such warm reception for films, even if they didn't get a huge box office. This one, even the people that went to go see it, critical reviews were pretty terrible.
Horrible.
Like, well, that doesn't really add up in my mind.
Also, for some context, this opened the same day as Blade Runner, which did not do well at the box office either. Yeah. This was also competing against Poltergeist and Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Just really bad timing.
Yeah, but objectively, it's not uncommon for films that are critically well received having bad timing, but still having good reviews. I feel like, especially if I see names attached like Roger Ebert, seeing a film, I typically expect pretty even keeled with how he views films, and his review of it was just so scathing. Just basically called it trash.
Yeah, he didn't like it. I was thinking about this too, because what you always hear about this movie compared to E.T., it's like, well, audiences just wanted to see friendly aliens in a movie. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to see this kind of a body horror thing. It's like, but how does that explain how Alien did so well just a couple years before?
It's a really good question. I think that they're two very different feelings that you watch with The Thing versus Aliens. And I think this goes down into even why I really love this film. This film has so many layers, and you don't have to be a huge horror fan to appreciate this film because of that, because you can get a sense of these really deep themes that come across, whether it's, isolation, loneliness, not trusting those around you, paranoia. I've never seen a film do it the way this one does, and I could probably see if a film like this released in 1982, no one had seen anything like it before, it probably brings up a lot of uncomfortable feelings.
The Alien thing too, I was looking this up. Number one, it did well with critics, mm-hmm. which probably mattered more then than it does now. I think people maybe paid attention to critics more then. Number two, Alien did not have the same kind of box office competition that this did. I think this was a combination of this getting this got really unlucky. But I agree with you, Anton. No one had seen anything like this in '82, and I have to say, one of the many reasons why this film is so wonderful and holds up, I still haven't seen anything like this. I really haven't.
Ben, it doesn't ever feel dated, no matter how many times I've seen this film.
No,
it feels fresh. It feels relevant.
This would still work today because cell phones won't work down there. Cell phones, you can't just call. No, wouldn't matter. Maybe they have computers. Maybe they have access to the internet. That would be the only real difference. I don't know how well the internet works in Antarctica. I know there are multiple research stations there that have the internet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this still works.
Yeah, it really is. It's a perfect movie. I know they tried to remake it. Pat, we were talking about, what was it, 2011. It's one of those movies where it was just made perfectly between the practical effects and the cast, the ambiance. It's a great movie. I don't even know how I would take a guess and articulate why this bombed, because I can't really understand it. I can't fathom it. All I can do is blame our parents' generation for just making a bad decision, crashing our economy. Making houses unaffordable, and then also hurting John Carpenter's feelings for making the thing unsuccessful box office wise.
He took it really hard, and I didn't realize this until doing the research. He had a deal with Universal, Anton. He was going to direct the adaptation of Stephen King's Firestarter. They removed him from the project because this failed. It's a real shame.
It's a huge shame, but he bounced back in 86, gave us another one of the best films of all time.
Another bomb, though, unfortunately.
But hey, who doesn't love Big Trouble in Little China?
No one doesn't love that film.
Great movie.
It's
Who else did
incredible.
that too? Actually, that I learned something.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And it's so fun. Just quick sidebar on Big Trouble. A lot of people don't realize that he directed that, but once you think about like, oh, that was a John Carpenter film, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it does.
And the film that he directed in between these two, Starman with Jeff Bridges, is a really good movie.
Oh yeah, really good.
Not your traditional Carpenter film.
Mm-mm.
Here's my question for you both: is this Carpenter's best work?
In my opinion, yes. Like definitive. Sean.
Is it my favorite John Carpenter movie? No. Halloween. Is it his best work? Is it the most perfect movie? You could definitely make that argument. I think this does. I think this does a lot more. It takes more risks than Halloween, right? But it's not my favorite John Carpenter movie because I have such a special place in my heart for Halloween. But I could see how the argument could be made that this is his best and favorite movie.
I'll answer my own question here.
I was going to say, and Pat, to you as well.
Okay. I think there's a couple different ways to answer this. Yes, I think this is his best film. I think objectively, and I don't think there's any argument for this, I'll be curious to hear what both of you think. His greatest contribution to cinema has to be the first Halloween, just because of how influential it is. And because of the shoestring budget that was filmed on. Just think how many films have ripped off Halloween. It's just...
Yeah.
He basically forged his own subgenre, right?
Dude, what is it? Invented the wheel?
Pretty much. I know the concept of the slasher movie had existed before Halloween, but Halloween completely changed the horror game. This I find to be a much more interesting movie. And I got nothing bad to say about the original Halloween. I think it's a phenomenal A+ movie. I prefer to watch this. Not that I don't like to watch Halloween. Is this my favorite Carpenter film? I would say no. I think my personal favorite is Escape from New York. Very different movie. Also featuring Kurt Russell. But yeah, I think this is his best work. I really do. I mean, if I was going to show anyone from the future, like, I've never seen anything from John Carpenter. Like, what should I watch? I would just show them the blood test scene. Like, just watch this. Like, this is John Carpenter at his best.
I'm shocked nobody said Ghosts of Mars.
Right.
Ice Cube.
Good one. I think that even until 2011, this standalone film also just basically stood strong as a standalone entry that defied the industry, that freaked out a lot of people in 1982, but it did eventually get not a sequel, but offshoot,
a prequel.
I think to me that's even it's still impressive to get a film. What is it about, like 30 years after its initial release?
That's how beloved this movie was.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the prequel now and just get it out of the way?
Sure.
It's egregious.
It's funny. That's all I can say. It's a joke.
The fact that they didn't even bother giving it another name, they just called it The Thing. It's like, you've got to be kidding me.
I mean,
and for the record, I would give that an F. I would never watch that again. I'm mad at myself for ever watching it in the first place.
It sucks too, because being such a big fan that I am, I was really skeptical about the film. I still ended up watching it. I watched a lot of the behind scenes and the making of. So I think I end up just laughing at it and picking at the things that I know could have been much better about the film. I think the thing that makes me laugh the most is I just imagine that, I forget the actor's name, but he plays like one of the McPoyle brothers in It's Always Sunny, is one of the main characters in that film.
It's such an affront to this movie's legacy, too. It's also completely forgotten. I don't know anyone who's having a conversation about that other than us right now. But, I mean, that movie, that prequel, not only was it unnecessary because we see what happens to the Norwegians' camp literally in this film. We have a video that they show us. Like, we know exactly what happened. Yeah. They dug up the thing. They all got killed. Need to make a movie about that.
That's much scarier found footage film within a film. Yeah, it's a same gripe, just around nothing is really added. Oh. Making a film like this, there's literally nothing added that gives you better context about the universe, the lore. What is good is the video game. That's really good. If you want an expanded universe for the thing, play the video game.
Asking a Todd who hasn't played it before.
Great show.
So good. Originally released on multiple consoles, but they just had a remaster released.
Really?
So you can play on modern consoles. Yeah, you can get it for the Nintendo Switch, funny enough. But Yeah, it's that's a really good game.
I used to play
It
it
is.
back on my PS2. I mean, this is probably going back 20 years ago, right? 20, 25
Oh yeah.
years ago at this
Yeah, it
point.
came out in '02.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
fun little survival horror game, third-party mechanics. You could use shotguns, flamethrowers.
Wasn't it co-op too? Like, couldn't you play?
Yep, you could play co-op.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Oh, now I'm gonna go check out Steam.
Yeah,
Right
do
after
it.
this.
You can play it. Yeah.
One of the reasons why this original film is so interesting to me in Carpenter's filmography is, he was normally a filmmaker who developed his own projects. He was essentially just a director for hire here, which I find fascinating. It's very different from a lot of his other works. Halloween is his. Escape from New York is his. A lot of his other projects are his. This is obviously his because he made it, but not the first choice. Kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, great observation. Is that just like lightning in a bottle?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think there's some directors who do some of their best work in those situations. This is a great example of that.
I would say, I mean, we have to look at other situations to really form a thesis on it. I would assume less pressure to create something that has high expectations, but still applying that you're a master of your craft. And when you have a tight story and a great crew around you and already the right budget, it was almost kind of like the right environment for something like this, which is very unique.
In the intro, I was mentioning how just the reputation 180 that this film got. There are very few films like this that are just completely ignored and panned at the time of release, and they get turned around. I wrote down some other candidates because I was just trying to figure out, I'm like, what else? Like, what other films are like this? Here's a few, and if I've missed anything, let me know. I mean, Fight Club for sure. That was kind of ignored when it came out in '99, and it very, very quickly became one of the most beloved movies of its era.
Pretty sure when it was either Brad Pitt or Ed Norton, after that movie was done filming, one of them said to the other, "People are going to hate this movie." I think it was so different at the time. I mean, I think they did originally, initially. But
the studio hated it when Fincher was done making it. Nobody seemed happy with it.
It took a risk. It was a very weird, different movie.
That's another movie I've never really seen anything quite like it.
Yeah.
Anton, if you want to go way back in time, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yep.
Didn't get great reviews when it came out.
Good call out. Now it's just a classic for the holidays.
Yeah, all time.
As classic as a classic can get. Some Hitchcock stuff, of course. The original Psycho, not really well received. It made money, but critics didn't really like it. Vertigo was ignored by audiences in 1958. And then, of course, we have to mention this other film from 1982, Blade Runner. Talk about something that's now seen as one of the all-time great movies. It just didn't make money. Critics were like, "Eh."
Those are all really, really great examples. I had a few that I really gave a lot of thought around. Just the reception changes, viewpoints change. Scott Pilgrim was one that comes to mind. Not really,
right?
Yeah, did not do well in box office, but there is a huge appreciation for that film now. A lot of fans. Jennifer's Body, another example. And
what?
Yeah, Jennifer's Body with Megan Fox. And what's her name?
I didn't know anyone like that.
No, not dude. Like, it's really interesting how much horror fans, especially, or just even critical film nerds in the I don't know what sphere, podcast sphere, have taken a look at that film now after 20 years and give it a lot more credit for what it is than when it was originally released. Just because it is a lot deeper, more nuanced, but of course people only saw the trailer and Megan Fox and thought, well, what could this be? It's just not another Megan Fox film. But it was actually pretty good. If neither of you have seen it, I recommend it.
I literally have never seen it. I think I kind of did. I think exactly what you said. I think I just brushed it off and said, it's going to be cheesy, like teen type horror movie.
I think it'll surprise you. I'm not saying it's like the best movie ever, but I do think it does deserve the extra recognition it gets now.
I'll take your word for it.
I wonder if we'll see the same renaissance of Megan 2, because that bombs in the box office, but I have a feeling that might just permanent bomb.
That's really interesting, because a friend pointed out the machine becoming a good guy in the second one is they're just taking it from T2.
Yeah. Well, the director tried to say it was some original concept, but yeah, it literally was just the exact same thing that they did for Terminator 2.
I think the original Terminator was like not that well received when it first came out. I know it made some money, but it wasn't seen as some masterpiece at the time.
Yeah. Children of Men. You guys remember that one?
That was beloved when it came out.
Just talking to my wife about that. She hasn't seen it. We want to watch it.
It was okay when it was released. I don't think
great critic scores though.
It's such a good movie.
But now recognized as one of the best sci-fi films of all time.
What if I told you I hated that movie?
What?
I'd be like, well, let's talk about it.
I think that's a perfect.
I'm kidding.
Perfect movie for the pod. Oh, I was going to say, if you hate it, we should debate that one. That's a great movie.
I'll put it this way: I do not love it like a lot of people. I think it's good. It's a good movie. Not the most fun watch.
No, it's a downer.
It's a little bit of a downer.
Huge downer.
Everyone's going to die, and we can't have any more babies. That's the plot. Save this one pregnant woman.
That era for films for me, that was a huge downer, and then The Road was a huge downer.
Yeah, that's cheese. I never want to see that again.
Yeah, I never want to read that book again.
The Road. No. Who's in The Road?
Yeah. It's Viggo Mortensen, based on the book by Cormac McCarthy.
If you're in a bad mood, don't watch it.
Yeah, just don't. And never read it if you don't want your whole week ruined.
So here's a question building on what you just said. This is a movie where everyone dies. Why is this so watchable?
It's the perfectly written story, I think.
I don't mind if everyone dies, as long as it's an epic way that they go out, which obviously it was.
There is this weird sense of heroism in this movie where, and it's not preachy, but McCready and most of the rest of those guys, they realize the stakes if this thing gets to the mainland.
Yeah, I think there's a level of relatability that really shines through in this performance and also in the writing. You mentioned it really early on, Pat, like all of these guys look like people you would expect to work on a research facility in Antarctica. And that's with being grounded in reality, they act and react how you'd expect them to. And so you sympathize with them, you empathize with them, whether it's they're going through the paranoia, they're going through all of the emotions if you were to go through anything like this. And so you also really root for them, even though you don't get too deep into their relationships or their histories. You can empathize with them on a human level. And that's amazing for, I think, what people kind of dismiss in 82 as just a horror film or just a gross out fest.
You nailed it. I mean, that's why this is so great. Like I said, this is as pure as horror gets, which is almost like underselling like what this actually is, because you're right. It is a lot more than that. I mean, the creature effects are awesome. We're going to talk about them. They're some of the best ever. They're incredibly memorable, but that's not why the movie works so well for me. It is, you said it, Anton, how real everything else feels. The paranoia, their distrust of each other is completely believable. That is exactly how you and I and Sean and everyone else we know would react in that situation. The paranoia would set in really quick. Even if these guys are friends, it seemed like some of them were friends, some of them weren't, right? Which is exactly what
it's normal, right?
Right. And rewatching this is so satisfying too. Like it's one of those movies where knowing the mystery and knowing the ending doesn't spoil anything at all. It makes it way more satisfying to watch. Once you know who actually is infected, you watch the movie in a completely different way, because you're like, at least that's what I was doing. I was like looking out for Palmer and Norris early on. I'm like, are they acting differently? Like, what's going on? Like, it really is so perfect how everything just builds up. And Carpenter plays on this perfectly, because if you've never seen this for the first time, Sean, you said very early on, it does keep you guessing. This keeps you guessing like few films do. You really don't know what's going to happen next, who's going to die next. But if you're really paying attention, once Blair freaks out, and I think what's in the scene in the helicopter where is it Fuchs? He's reading Blair's notes to McCready, and like, oh, they're all doomed.
Yeah. And you touched on it really well in that people are always guessing, even to the end, right? And there's often times where directors have viewers guessing a little too much, like, oh, this is open to interpretation. What could it mean? And I feel like those films are just a little annoying. I think this was just the right level, and at the same time, the right balance of story and build-up that made that guessing game so satisfying, because at the break, or not even the breakneck speed, the right pace of the film allows you to unravel this mystery, but at the same time still guess along with the crew as they're trying to figure out who among us is an alien and is going to kill us. And it's just fantastic.
Yeah, you're guessing along the entire time, right? Not really knowing what's going to happen next, and that's why I think it's not just your typical horror movie. There's just so many other elements to it that just take it to the next level. And you're right, like what you guys just said. It's so rewatchable. There aren't many movies that I can watch over and over and over and still enjoy just as much as the first time that I've watched it. And this is up there. It's like this, My Cousin Vinny, Halloween. There are a few movies, right, that I could just keep watching and always enjoy. This is definitely in that category, just because it's perfectly made.
Yeah, it's what's interesting is there's been a lot of films that either draw from it or at the same time very similar. Like, I think capturing paranoia, people acting in a panic, it's not something that's new, right? There's other films that kind of draw from that. Like, any examples come to mind for you guys?
Well, a film that we covered a while back, Anton, is a very different kind of film, but Where Eagles Dare.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily call that a paranoid movie, but
it keeps you guessing.
It keeps you guessing because you hadn't seen it before we reviewed it, and
right.
you were halfway through the film. Were you wondering, like, who are they supposed to? Can you trust Richard Burton's character?
Right. And that's a really good call out. And that's just tight writing. That's just great writing. I would also say too, there's modern examples with, hey, we've talked about Stephen King before. There was The Mist that came out in 2007. Folks are trapped in a grocery store, and Lovecraftian horrors are outside. Not as well done as this, but similar theming. I think that there's just something, and that film feels a lot more dated than this film.
Yeah, it does. As much more recent. I will say, The Mist might have, some will say the best, others will say the most horrific and worst ending.
Oh yeah,
any movie ever. And that will always stick with me for the rest of my life.
Haunting.
That is a well done ending. It's also the unique time that I think Stephen King even appreciated that twist to the end.
So other movies like this, I didn't want to say this first, but I think the easiest one is a film that borrows heavily from this, also starring Kurt Russell, also scored by Ennio Morricone, The Hateful Eight.
Great example.
You know, I mean, Tarantino very openly said that the Thing inspired that film.
What is that film? The Thing meets Django meets...
yeah.
What else?
Whatever you're going to say, yeah.
I'm just trying to think, meets The Thing. Yeah. It's great.
That's a film we're going to be covering, because I feel like it's not a universally beloved Tarantino film.
Oh, but it's very well done.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I love Tarantino. That wasn't my favorite, but I'm also I love Tarantino, but I'm not a Tarantino stan. You know?
I'm the same way. I do love him, but...
That's one of the films where you watch the film, and then I feel like for a lot of people that don't watch a lot of Tarantino, they're surprised. They wonder, why am I watching this film again, except from a different perspective? And it's a little long in that sense.
Yeah,
it's long. That's the main thing with it. This film isn't long though. This is just the right runtime.
Yeah,
it's like an hour 40.
Yep, that's the sweet spot right there. Just enough, not too long.
There's no wasted scene in here.
It's great how you look at the story beats, and like you said, the different scenes propel everything forward in a very natural way. And when characters like Mr. Diabetes start to act a little erratically, I think like that was probably one of my favorite things that I draw upon from the film is, what do you attribute that to? Is it just psychologically the guy's broken? Or perhaps he has turned? I think like those are the fun questions that you can ask, especially with the way that the film paces.
That's a good question. I personally don't think he turned early on. Otherwise, why would he destroy all the radios and stuff? I think he just snapped. He and I think my theory is he snapped, but then he got turned when he got isolated. Sean, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that because I've heard people say, like, oh, well, he must have got infected when he was touching his face with the pencil during the autopsy. And I'm like, well, why would he ask the computer what his chances are? You know, why would he bother to ask the computer what happens if the thing reached the mainland? If he was infected, he wouldn't bother doing that. He wouldn't destroy all the radios and the helicopter. It's like he clearly wasn't infected.
No, I mean, the thing was doing everything it could to get out of there, right? And
Right.
spread. So, it doesn't add up. I think got infected later for sure, but not.
No, at that point when the pencil touched him, his diabetes had created enough of a layer to be able to prevent the thing from being able to infect him.
I'm Wilford Brimley, and I have type 2 diabetes. My theory on McReady is that he was so drunk the thing couldn't infect him at any point. Sidebar question for you both. How many bottles of whiskey do you think each individual was going through? One a week?
Ooh, a barrel?
Two
a
bottles
barrel
a week?
I'd say a barrel each, right?
What else are you doing?
Nothing.
You know what I'm saying? Like
you're playing cards, you're playing board games, you're playing chess on the computer until McReady ruins it with pouring the whiskey into it. There's not a whole lot to do.
So to answer your question, all of it. That's how much.
All of it. Do you think they, like, when they first shipped out there, like, we're gonna need how many cases of whiskey do you need? Like, I don't know, you have like 200 or 300?
It's so one of the things I looked into before the episode was, what is it like at a research base? Nowadays, of course, modernized a bit. It's a lot more palatable for folks that are doing research, like, you know, for as long as they are. But when being interviewed, you know, research scientists still say, like, there is just something about being isolated in this part of the world that you can't help but feel some of this paranoia, can't help but feel that isolation. So I think this film is very accurate in that sense. And another fun fact, pizza is highly prized on any research base in the Antarctic.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's like, it's if you need a favor, you got to have pizza ready.
Makes sense. I imagine a lot of reading too. A lot of reading.
Yeah.
I end up just finishing all the bourbon or the whiskey.
Yeah. The whiskey.
They're too drunk to read.
I was just looking at my notes, and I completely forgot to bring up a movie when you were asking about similarities, or movies that like drew from this. The Faculty. Have you guys seen The Faculty?
Oh yeah,
with Josh.
Classic. Oh my gosh.
The craziest cast of the '90s.
Loaded.
Like, honestly, like Usher's in there too. Like John Carpenter, Usher, Jon Stewart, Selma Hayek. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, that movie, is it as good as this? No, it's not as good as the thing.
It's not as good as this.
But it was pretty darn good. And I just watched it recently, like within the last month, because I bought it on 4K. Man, it's still so good. I grew up with that movie. It's still really good, and they have a lot of similar scenes, right? Like where they're going around, they're in Josh Hartnett's garage, and they're all sniffing like the homemade cocaine, whatever it is that they have, and one by one, it's like whoever can sniff this drug is not high or is not the alien, and it's the same thing as the blood test, right? But instead they're sniffing cleaner solution.
This was a very fun time in Hollywood. I love to. A very young Jordana Brewster was in this one.
What's his name? Sean. He's in Animal Kingdom. He's on the Pit now. He was the jock in that.
Connery. No.
Famke
Janssen. Yeah,
he's in that. It's a great cast.
I forgot Jon Stewart was in this. I'm looking at the cast list now.
It's a ridiculous cast. It really is.
It is, and it's like that classic 90s poster where like the entire cast is in like the flying V in the front. Like I feel like every science fiction movie at that time, or sci-fi movie was like that at the time, right? Like,
it was the front perspective, right? All the actors are looking up and they're angled at the camera. Think Usual Suspects. Think. I just watched this film. Not to go too much of a tangent. Have you guys ever seen Go from 1999?
Long time ago.
Oh my gosh. I really appreciate that film now. That also has like a ton of people in it that I didn't realize were in this film. It's like Pulp Fiction, but if it was set in LA during like the rave scene in 1999. Super fun film.
So I think we answered the question. Blair was not infected when he smashes up all the radios.
No, but it was very rude of him.
He was just going a little crazy.
He was 48 years old in this film. Just pointing that out. Wilford
Yeah.
Brimley, 48 years old.
The him smashing up all the equipment too. Like the director hadn't even said action. He just started going at all the equipment. He was angry.
You can see the moment when he snaps. It's when he asks Clark, he's like, you didn't lock up the dog until last night. Okay. He's just like, oh, shit. Oh, I had a question for you both. I was trying to figure this out. What's the timeline of this film? Is it like 2 days?
It's
just about.
Right?
Because the Norwegians crash during the day. Then they have a full night.
2 days, yeah.
It's like 2 days, right?
Yeah, because then you end at like the end of the second day.
Yeah.
Right, the second night.
Yeah, second night. Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah, because I guess none of them really go to sleep, right?
And did we know that John Carpenter is actually an uncredited Norwegian in this? I didn't realize that.
Yes, yeah. You can't really spot him, but yeah, he is.
I didn't know that until I started looking.
I wonder if any Norwegians seeing this film, they watched, more was revealed to them just because they were able to translate what was being said in the beginning of the film. And it's just like, oh, that makes sense. Stay away from the dog.
Yeah, like the movie's basically spoiled for them if they actually speak it.
Yeah,
right.
That's fine. But if it was a lesser film, there would have been subtitles.
Right. You're right. They don't do it. It's the right decision. The rest of the cast, Kurt Russell's a fantastic lead.
Mm-hmm.
I like how he's not a flawless hero. Like, you doubt him at one point, but you don't know anything about him. Anton, you pointed this out very astutely earlier. You don't really know anything about any of them. I think McReady, you can guess. Like, he strikes me as a guy clearly had been in the military at one point.
It's incredible how well this film makes you care about people you barely know, because it again ties to the base humanity that people feel empathy for. You want to see these people survive.
It's a great example of, you're right, but the writing, they all have personalities without having any backstories. Every one of them, even the guys with not that many lines, like Knowles has a personality.
Yeah, versus some films, I think, take too much time to try to build out why you should feel sympathetic for a character. And it's just like, okay, I get it. Like, he was 2 days from retirement. I get it. No
one's sitting there whining like, I got a wife and kids back home. There's nothing like that in this film. No cliches. There's logic in this film, which you don't see in horror a lot. Mm-hmm. Mac using logic to come up with the blood test.
Yeah.
You just don't see that in a lot of horror movies.
Yeah, and there's just so much tension that scenes, either you get the payoff of that tension with the horror and the scares, or just someone yelling, can someone untie me right now? And it's actually legit hilarious.
I wrote down, if the research station were a football team, Mac would be quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah,
sounds
that's
about right.
But like, the quarterback would be Kerry Collins at the end of his career, because he has a drinking problem. He's still good. He can still do it. People trust him, but you can tell he has a troubled past.
But hey, he's making them Titans look good.
yeah. Like, he's going to get them to the playoffs, but
But Mac gets it done in the end, ultimately. Him and Keith David, the arbiter himself, playing Childs. I think they end up being the two co-leads. They don't, Keith David, Childs doesn't start off that way.
No, but great development for the character. Also, I read about this in an article, and, there is like, people asked, does this say anything about like race to have, the last two be, someone who's white, someone who's black? I think that one of the things that I love about this film, it doesn't push anything in your face at all with any message, and it just leaves a lot to interpretation with the layers and with the different themes of the film. What you get is really strong performances that can draw those kinds of feelings, or it can kind of draw those kind of learnings. And Keith David, fantastic line delivery, which makes sense considering he's one of the greatest voice actors of all time.
And Carpenter does something very similar again, and They Live a few years later.
Right.
His reaction when Max shoots Clark, talking about Child's reaction, it's incredible. I wrote down the Benning scene is my favorite. They have to torch Bennings. I don't know why it's my favorite. That's like the scene that stuck with me the most, which seems interesting because I don't think it's the most memorable scene in the film. It's not the it's not the defibrillator scene. It's not the blood test scene, but
Great
That for
scene.
whatever reason, the bending scene freaked me out the most as a kid. When you realize how quickly one of them can be assimilated by the thing. And then what does he say? He's like, if it had been another few minutes, he would have looked and sounded exactly like Bennings. He's got those weird claws.
Yeah.
It's good acting by the guy who plays Bennings. Remember when they confront him in the snow? Just the look on his face is just totally blank. He's got this alien look on his face.
Yeah, that's so hard to choose between which of the, for me, those are two of the top scenes. I think the defibrillator scene sticks with me the most because of the way it also develops. Just when you think you have an understanding of what alien films are and how aliens just manifest, you get whatever the heck happens in that scene.
That's the best jump scare, right? You're just like, what? Like if you haven't seen it, you're not prepared for it.
Just arms gone.
It is something else.
I know. I think my favorite scene's a cop out. It's the blood test. I mean, that to me, every time I think back on the movie,
it's the best scene for sure.
It's that scene. It's so
all these little touches in there.
Yeah.
Like the look on Palmer's face when he realizes he's been exposed. He's just like he kind of does the shrug. Then Windows shits himself at the plate. Poor Windows. Here's a question: who's the shadow on the wall? The first person infected by the dog. Who do you think it is?
It's a good question.
It's often debated. I found a definitive answer.
Who is it?
Producer Stuart Cohen confirmed it's supposed to be Palmer.
Okay. That makes sense.
Because it really could have only been him or Norris, right?
Yeah.
Because of exposure to the dogs.
Well, you'd think it would be Clark.
Right.
But that's like the best red herring about the film. Like you're like, it has to be Clark. And it wasn't. Kind of makes you wonder why the thing didn't infect Clark if he was with him, isolated for so long. It's like, speaking of good acting, the dog.
Shout out Spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That shot when they're coming back from the Norwegians camp and you just see the dog watching the helicopter land in the window.
A little eerie. Did you guys watch the South Park episode that parodied the thing?
No,
Yes.
I actually have not seen it.
Oh.
It's the episode. Well, they don't parody the whole film like
You mean the blood test?
But there is it draws upon those same feelings of paranoia.
Yeah.
But basically, there's a lice infestation in the school, and Cartman basically stages the whole blood test scene. But he has the jacket. He has the different characters tied up, and it's hilarious.
Doesn't he have a flamethrower?
He has a flamethrower. Highly recommend it.
It's great.
It's just a great homage. But
Yeah.
also hilarious thinking in the context of the paranoia is around a lice infestation. It's at the school. Pretty funny.
Also pretty funny. There are characters named Windows and Mac. Thought that was good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know if that was deliberate. The rest of the cast, I think is great. I like Donald Moffat as Gary, the head of the facility. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's a very, very recognizable character actor. All right, we can talk about the special effects right now. It's some of the best ever put to film.
It's so good when you look at the names of who worked on the film and then everything else that they worked on. It's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It's just so creative. Are there shots here and there that you can tell are an old film? Yeah, sure. But I said it before, I've never seen anything like it. I really haven't.
You see a movie like this just from so many years ago, and it just makes you so frustrated to be living in this CGI, just horrible CGI era. We need to get back to stuff like this. We really do.
Okay, look, I think about how this film executed on the feelings of isolation and paranoia and the amazing practical effects that we get with the film. Compare that to the big budget that was I Am Legend and try to touch on similar themes.
And that aged bad in the moment. That looked bad in 2007.
Yeah. But it also didn't feature legendary Rob Bottin or Bottin or cinematographer Dean Cundy.
Stan Winston too.
Oh yes.
Rob Bottin, Sean, this will blow your mind. He was 22 years old when he did all the creature effects on this.
Really?
Yeah.
He did the creature effects on Basic Instinct.
He must have had a messed up childhood to be able to do that at 22.
He's worked on so many films: Legend, RoboCop, Fight Club, the first Mission Impossible. He did like the rubber mask effects. He won an Academy Award for his work on Total Recall, which has awesome effects.
Yeah.
Practical
But this is his
effects, man.
finest achievement. I mean, this is, if there's one film to remember Rob Bottin for, it's this.
Weirdly did work on Mr. Deeds, but I really want to see what he did on Mr. Deeds.
That's a strange one. Yeah.
Maybe he did the fruit punch water fountain. Put that together.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I would say this is the best example of why CGI can't replicate practical effects. Because you compare this to the 2011 prequel, right? It's like a 1-to-1 comparison, right? CGI versus practical. They're trying to do the exact same thing, but getting, very different results via different methods. This is a 40-plus-year-old movie. And if you watch this like back to back with the prequel, like that has aged terribly.
Horrible.
I would assume. I haven't seen it since it came out. I mean, I have no need.
No, you're right. It's also just I think the amount of appreciation that we have for, I guess, going the extra mile with the practical effects. There's another film that I think of that really I appreciate it, even though I realize that, or even they realized working on the film that this is so much work to get it done, was Cabin in the Woods. Originally, the director and the crew, they were like, you know what, we're going to do every effect practical. And they learned really quickly, like, that's going to be way too hard, especially like cost wise. And we already saw how much it cost for this film.
What was that movie that just came out with Demi Moore? That was basically all special effects, practical effects.
With Margaret Qualley.
Mm-hmm. A lot of gore, a lot of blood.
Not the sauce. What is it called?
The sauce.
It's not called the sauce.
It's called Big Mac special sauce.
That's what I'm calling it now, the sauce.
Can you, what is it called, Anton? Can you look it up?
The antidote or something?
Slice.
No, it was what was it? Oh man, the sauce.
We could just Google it.
I wish we had a way to figure this out. I just don't know.
Yeah, if only there was some way.
The substance.
Substance. We were close.
The sauce.
All that was. There was no CGI other than like the background. I think that's
And there's nothing inherently wrong with CGI. It's just used wrongly a lot.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. And we've covered films that use it a bit too much. We've covered, Willy Wonka comes to mind. I don't know. I feel like this was also a really good example of, even though it was very heavy-handed in practical effects, it doesn't feel bloated. They went over budget, but it still looks amazing because they had people that were really dedicated to the craft and were just masters of what they were doing.
It's like Carpenter went to Dean Cundey and he's like, can you make this film look cold? You're right, Anton. I mean, this is a master at work here. Everything has this icy blue glow to it when they're outside, but there's also these oranges from the lights and the torches, and the color palette of this film is brilliant.
Yeah, it's so easy to take for granted how well this film sets atmosphere, and you can't get that done without the right cinematography.
Carpenter was wise to work with him. My theory on why some of his work in the 90s declined is, if you notice, he stopped working with Cundey. Mm-hmm. I think it's nothing against the cinematographers that he worked with, but they not as good.
Did he stop working with Cundey, or did Cundey stop working with him? Sure.
Probably the latter. What's a good comparison, right? Okay, Escape from New York versus Escape from LA.
Well,
way bigger budget, but like Escape from New York is a better looking film. Did Cundey shoot that? Because I'm going to look like a dumbass if he did.
Well, what's really interesting is if you look at the back half of, for example, John Carpenter's career in the late going from the 90s going to the late 90s.
He didn't shoot. He didn't shoot it. Okay. No.
You see directors that he more so partnered with, or for Cundey, partnered more so with Spielberg, Robert Zemeckis. Names that kind of come up more often.
Right.
I think it's really just maybe it's not so much of just not wanting to work with Carpenter more than these are opportunities that I really want to take.
Yeah. Look, I'm not blaming Dean Cundey for abandoning Carpenter. Or am I? I don't know.
But hey, he did Looney Tunes Back in Action with Brendan Fraser.
He did somehow. I would imagine he got that job, Anton, because he filmed Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh yeah.
Don't even get me started on the Renaissance. He's on his way back. Is The Mummy on here? I don't think. I feel like The Mummy's that's also almost a perfect movie. The Mummy Returns.
The Mummy Returns is on my list of films I consistently go back to.
Same. That's actually that's in like the My Cousin Vinny, The Thing. Like I can watch The Mummy Returns at any time.
The first two are amazing. The third one,
not
very
so
very disappointing.
Get that shit out of here.
We're gonna cover it at some point.
Oh, sign me up because I have the Mummy trilogy. Unfortunately, that came with it. I wish.
I was gonna say, how often do you watch Tomb of the Dragon Emperor?
I have. Oh yeah, that's the third one. I'm thinking the Scorpion Gate. That was the Jet Li, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not very good.
I watched it one time. I never watched it again.
It's not good.
That's
not good.
Like blacked it out from my memory bank.
Moving through the Murderer's Row on the production here, Anton. The score at Ennio Morricone.
Just, oh my gosh.
Nominated for a Razzie.
It's
How's that possible?
So rude. It's nuts.
Great horror movie score. The Pulsing.
How could it get nominated for a rat? Okay.
I don't know.
There must have been some sort of smear campaign or something going on.
Yeah.
People were just piling on this movie for whatever reason.
82 was 82 was not kind to this film.
Was there some sort of stock market crash or something? Like what happened right around this time?
There was a recession at the time, that's for sure.
Some people were just a little bit like high strung and stressed out.
You know, the 70s is barely over. I don't know. Everything else about the movie works. I mean, it's the editing, the pacing's great. I will say, not that I'm picking nits, there are some weird edits where it just fades to black in a lot of scenes, and you're like, sometimes involving Wilford Brimley. You know, it's just after he's done talking, it just fade out. You're like,
That gives it, I think, just kind of a more classic film quality. That kind of fade out.
I can see that.
Yeah. This, as much as it is like kind of a film that hadn't been like anything that anyone hadn't, like a film no one had seen in 1982, this film plays so much homage and respect to classic horror films of like Universal.
It didn't bother me that much. I don't know. Even though the movie holds up, it's an older movie. When I see that, I kind of think to myself, it's an older movie. That was just something that happened. So
I'm really reaching for things to complain about, and I can't really complain about because it's just so well paced. Nothing ever drags. There's no exposition dump. There's no clear explanation of the creature, but that serves the film.
Yeah.
It doesn't hinder it.
It was something that really stuck with me when I was younger was when you typically see a horror film or like an action film in Hollywood, the main character usually just looks perfectly fine, not disheveled throughout for the most part. McCready, you can see, is looking terrible by the end of the film. His beard is covered in ice, and I think it's part of that same grounded quality that really stuck out to me. That, again, I don't think a lot of this film was really brave to do things like that.
He was also starting to probably feel his hangover too.
Yeah.
By the end of the film, he's like, he might be hungover.
He's like, well, the only thing I can do is just keep drinking.
There's like that one quote I really like, and he's just like, what? He's like, what do you want, Fuchs? I just want to go up to my shack and get drunk. Pretty good quotes in this film. There's one. All right, so there's a couple not problems I have with the plot. I was teasing you earlier, Anton, but things I do think are kind of funny. None of them wonder why the Norwegians were trying to kill the dog. Not a single person asked that question.
They were so pro dog in 82. They were like, what are they?
That was their downfall, if you think about it.
What are they doing?
Gary kills the one Norwegian. The helicopter blows up and kills the other one. And they're just like, huh, that was weird.
Isn't it the best, the best metaphor or allegory? I forget which, please, folks that can break it down for me. Man's best friend is coming at them and being attacked. What are they going to do? They're going to be like, well, we got to protect man's best friend. Or is it?
Yeah, I kind of chalked it up to them thinking that these Norwegians had some sort of cabin fever and went nuts, And they and they just lost it. And they just didn't know what to do. So they defended the dog.
Could be.
but
I thought it was funny.
you had a bunch of
Like,
researchers.
none of them were like, why do you think they were trying to kill the dog?
Yeah, they're supposed to be smart people. They're researchers, right? So
Yeah.
they probably would ask that question.
My other thing I think is funny, and I think the film very wisely spends as little time as possible on this, is so Blair's thing was just building a flying saucer under the shack. It's like, how?
With whatever was at that station.
Yeah. It's
with literally
they very wisely don't spend time on it. Just blow it up. It's like, what?
I was telling you, Pat, like if it tried to fly it, I'm pretty sure it would have exploded.
I guess you could make the case that the thing was using all of its universally accumulated knowledge to build some device, which is from the book. That is from the book.
Right. It's a hive mind, right? So
right.
And at the same time, it can collect all of that knowledge to be able to be scrappy, even if in an Antarctic research facility.
It's a MacGyver of aliens, right?
In many ways, it is.
Well,
we don't really know what it looks like. Obviously, I guess when the dog thing attacks the other dogs, that's probably the closest we get to seeing what maybe it might look like, but we don't know.
So technically, if it's a hive mind, depending on the connectivity to like other beings in its race, it could ask itself while on another planet to look it up on Wikipedia or look it up on ChatGPT. How do I build a flying saucer with all of these materials? And the hive mind is still going to ingest all that information.
I don't know that it is a hive mind, though.
No, I thought it was.
I don't know, because if it was, wouldn't Palmer's thing have like telepathically communicated with its blood? Don't react if the needle hits you.
Maybe that's the thing around maturity within kind of the different states.
I think it seems like the bigger the creature, the more intelligent it is.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
Seems to be what happened here, but I've gone through all my notes. That's all I have. I really have. I don't know. Like, this is everything I want from a horror movie.
Yeah, I'd say the timing's great because of the remaster for the game that was released. So super, super fun. I have it on Nintendo Switch. It's great. Sean, you could definitely check it out on Steam.
I'm probably going to download it on Switch because I've been going into the city a lot. That might be a perfect game to play on the train, mobily.
Mm-hmm.
So,
in the interest of a crying baby, we have to wrap this up.
All right, let's do it.
I will go first just because, I need to get to the baby.
Okay.
Let's do it. Quick review.
This is an A+ film for me. It's one of the best horror movies ever made. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's the total package representing everything that I want from a horror movie. It is a compelling premise with some great performances and real tension. This has some of the best tension I've ever seen in a film. Have to give Carpenter credit for that. It is not my favorite Carpenter film, as I've said, but I think it is his best. The special effects are legendary, and in some ways they are the star of the show, but they don't overwhelm what makes this movie so special. I like this movie for everything that I mentioned, but I love it for everything else. The performances, the atmosphere, the paranoia, the tension, the pacing, the psychological horror is just as effective as the gore. Everything is working together perfectly. There's really no weak link for me here. I mean, it's as emphatic as an A+ as it gets for me.
And Tom, where do you want me to go?
No, I'm happy to go. Look, this is the kind of movie that makes me love movies. This is how transformative people just don't expect film to be able to be. This is the kind of film that makes you really question what you're seeing on screen with just how well it's done and how amazing it looks and the kind of story and feelings that it has you feel. I think that it's without a doubt, like I said, one of my favorite films. I'd argue, like, Catch Me on the Right Day, it's my favorite film. And I really don't have much else to say. I think that if you've never seen this film, you absolutely must watch it. Even if you're not a horror fan, you will find something you appreciate about this film. It is an absolute A.
Not an A+?
It is an A+.
Okay. I was
You're
say,
right.
like, what the hell?
You're right. It is an A+.
Okay.
It's your movie.
Yeah.
I watched this movie last night. Prior to that, I watched it about 4 months ago. Before that, maybe 6 months before that, I find myself watching this movie multiple times per year. And now, after just watching it last night, and we're talking about it again, I want to watch it. I want to watch it tonight before I go to bed. Like that. That's how good this movie is. You can just keep rewatching it. It's the perfect horror movie with the blend of sci-fi. It's got everything that I want in a movie. Great cast, great special effects, great plot. So obviously this is a D- for me. So that's my review. Just kidding, it's an A+. But yeah, I had to do something to change it up. This is like a love fest here.
It is. I mean, this happens sometimes with films that we cover.
Amazing movie. I'm glad we spoke about
Yeah.
it. And honestly, this was even better because now I'm going to download it.
Do it. It's a great game. Yeah, I mean, now we don't have to talk about this movie bombing at the box office anymore because nobody remembers that about it.
No,
it's great.
It's
just everyone loves this movie. It deserves the love too.
It does.
Yeah.
And hey, if John Carpenter does happen to listen to this podcast, I just want you to know, John, we care. We love this.
Yes,
movie.
we do.
We would have watched it in 1982 if we were alive. Not our boomer parents who crashed the real estate economy and market.
Glass-Steagall Act. What?
Yeah, don't listen to the haters because
there are no haters for this.
There are no haters here
anymore. They all died. They all died off.
Alien Ghost of Mars wasn't that bad. Okay.
No, you can be on that episode when we cover it. That is it for The Thing and this week's edition of Why Wasn't It Better? Sean, thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you,
this
Sean.
was a lot of fun.
Thank you guys for having me. As always, man, I love it.
Well, we're going to have you back very soon to talk about Halloween 4.
Ooh, spooky.
Here, I think, but
hey, spooky season.
You're passionate about horror movies.
I love Halloween. Yeah. Even as they get sillier and sillier, I'll be here with some dude.
Yeah. Well, you kind of have to be on because you are the guest for all the Halloween movies now. That's just how it's going to be.
Let's do it.
But thanks for listening, and see you next time.